that we need to understand while we are managing the organization strategically. And in that, we discussed pest analysis, that is political, economical, social, and technological analysis, as well as we discussed one more analysis, that is pestle analysis, which is about political, economic, social, technological, along with legal and environment. So that is called as a pestle analysis, which we discussed yesterday. We took an example also of one of the renowned company, Coca-Cola. How do they analyze this environment by using pestle analysis? Going further, we'll have to understand how do we perform this pestle analysis. So this process of carrying out pestle analysis should involve as many as manager possible to get the best results. So for this analysis, we'll have to involve the managers, and there are two steps. First step, that is gathering the information. So gathering the information about all these factors, that is political, economical, social, technological changes, and any other factors, legal, environmental, all those factors, we'll have to get information from different sources. That sources may be different journals, newspapers, internet, websites, and then identifying which of the pestle factors represents opportunities or threats. So by collection of all this information, from this information we'll have to understand what all from these factors are posing some opportunities, or there are any threats from any of the different factors which we have studied. So after doing this, we'll go to ETOP model. This model we'll have to understand. Have you heard of this term ETOP? Monica, Akash, Vishant?
No, sir, no, sir.
Uh, So this ETOP, the full form of this ETOP is environmental threats and opportunities profile. Hmm. You may write down the full form of this ETOP, that is environmental threat and opportunity profile. So this model will help us to understand different opportunities and threats for a company by studying the external environment. So for studying the external environment and its impact on the organization's performance, we'll have to prepare this ETOP. ETOP model we'll have to study, and we can analyze the environment by using this ETOP model. How do we prepare an ETOP? That we'll have to understand. There are few steps that we'll have to follow. Before we see what are those steps, we'll have to understand how this ETOP can help us. Why to prepare an ETOP? So first of all, it helps the organization to identify opportunities and threats. Secondly, to consolidate and strengthen the organization's position. So if we understand what are those opportunities and threats in the surrounding environment, it will help us to prepare in advance to grab those opportunities and to cope up with those threats. And therefore, it will help strengthen the company's position in the market. Also, it provides the strategist which sectors have favorable impact on the organization. So by analyzing this environment, we can understand which of these factors, or what are the different sectors in the environment that can have a positive or favorable impact on the organization's operations. Also, organization knows where it stands with respect to its environment. So we can come to know what is our position with reference to the current market scenario, and it helps in formulating an appropriate strategy. So this is the most important thing in our strategic management of the particular organization, that this ETOP model can help us identify those opportunities and threats, and can help us to formulate an appropriate strategy which can include how do we get that opportunity, or how we can cope up with those threats that can be incorporated in our strategy, and we can formulate appropriate strategy in line with all those opportunities and threats that can help our the organization to stand in the market, to survive and further grow in the market. Are you understanding this ETOP model? A very simple model, that is ETOP model, environmental threat and opportunities profile, that we are preparing for understanding the environmental impact on our organization. Any query on this?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So now we will try to prepare an ETOP, that is environmental threats and opportunities profile. So as I told you, there are few steps that we'll have to follow. First of all, we'll have to divide the environment into different sectors. So the environment can be divided into different sectors like political, social, then your environmental, ecological, or then technological. All those different uh, aspects we'll have to identify, and then we'll have to divide that environment into different parts. Second is analyzing the impact of each sector on the organization. Then one by one, we'll try to see what is the impact of each of those parts on the organization's operations. Third step is subdividing each environmental sector into subsector or subfactor. So this every factor, may it be social factor, for example, we'll divide it into different subfactors or subparts, and we'll see how it is impacting the company's operations, whether it is having favorable or unfavorable type of impact on the company's operation, that we'll analyze. And then impact of each subsector on our organization in the form of a statement. So then we'll prepare a statement regarding its impact on the company's operations. May you take as a example social factor. So under social factor, whatever factors come, sub factors, that we will formulate in the form of a statement, and we will then try to find out its impact on the company's operation based on the experience and judgment of those managers who are involved in preparing this ETOP. So these are four main steps with which we can prepare this ETOP for a company. The steps I will again repeat. That is, first of all, divide the environment into different sectors. Then secondly, analyzing the impact of each sector on the organization. Subdivide all this environmental sector into sub-factors, and then impact of each subsector, you find it out and write it in the form of a statement, and then see what is the impact, favorable, unfavorable, and then calculate the total impact of each factor on company's operations. Are you getting this?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
To make your understanding more better, we'll take one example. how to prepare this ETOP. This impact calculation of ETOP, that is environmental threat and opportunities profile, that you can see in this diagram. Is this diagram visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we'll have to understand how this ETOP is prepared. So the impact can be calculated preparing this table in the which we have this type of columns. Like we have one column that is trends, that is the trends going on. We will have to find it out what are the different trends which are going in that particular environment. Then probability of occurrence, what is the probability of occurrence of that particular trend. And then impact on strategies. There may be different strategies, S1, S2, S3, that is strategy 1, strategy 2, strategy 3. So there may be three different strategies for which we may be finding out the impact of all these factors. So here below we have mentioned +2 is extremely favorable impact, +1 is moderately favorable impact, 0 is that is neutral, no impact, -1 is moderately unfavorable impact, and -2 is extremely unfavorable impact. And then we have listed the probability of occurrence. The probability of occurrence is in the form of high, medium, and low. So when we are writing probability of occurrence is high, that can be categorized into these two. That is moderately favorable impact will get +1 mark. If it is extremely favorable impact, we can give +2 marks. If it is having medium or no impact, we can have 0, that is neutral. If it is having a negative impact, that is unfavorable impact, we can have -1. And if we have extremely unfavorable impact, we can have -2 marks. So like that, this type of table can be prepared for a particular company. Just look at this table and try to understand. If you have any query, you still ask me. I'm going to repeat this with one practical example on this. Are you getting this table how you have prepared? Harish? Vishant?
Hello, sir.
Are you understanding this table?
Hello, sir. Sir, can you repeat once again?
So once again, I will explain you about this table. Okay. So in preparing this ETOP, environmental threat and opportunities profile, whatever factors we have selected, maybe political factor, social factor, technological factor, economical factor. So those factors we will subdivide, and then we'll prepare the statements out of it. We'll see whether it is having positive impact or negative impact on our company's operations. So what is the probability of occurrence? Is it having favorable impact or unfavorable impact? If it is having favorable impact, we'll again see in detail whether it is having moderately favorable impact or extremely favorable impact. If it is having moderately favorable impact, we'll give +1 mark. If it is having extremely favorable, most favorable positive impact, we'll give +2 marks. If it is having no impact or no effect on company operations, it will be neutral, that is 0. Then if it is having unfavorable impact, that also can be calculated as moderately unfavorable impact or extremely unfavorable impact. So moderately unfavorable impact will give -1 marks. Extremely unfavorable impact we will give -2 marks. So whatever trend we have identified, just look at this cursor. Whatever trend we have identified, we'll have to see to it. For example, we relate it to social. Okay. So what is the probability of occurrence? Is it high, low, medium, and is it positive, negative? So it may be, for example, positive impact. So we may write here favorable, highly favorable, for example. Then again, for each strategy, we'll see how much impact it is having for each strategy. With this factor, if it is having high favorable impact, but for each strategy, how much is the effect? So if it is having moderately favorable impact for strategy 1, we can write 1 here. If it is having moderately extremely favorable impact for strategy 2, we'll write 2 here. And again, if it is having no effect on strategy 3, we can write here 0. Getting it?
Yes, sir.
So likewise, for each factor or each trend, we will try to calculate the marks for against each strategy, how much impact it has, whether it is having positive or negative effect. If it is having negative effect, we may write here negative, -1, -2, isn't it? So likewise, we'll see whether it is having positive or negative effect, and we'll make the total, how much mark each factor will score. Getting it? So in the further slide, we will take one example of such factor. So as I told you that social factor we have taken, for example, and this is subdivided into different sub factors. For example, increasing income level, high spending capability, the attitude of towards the work, or adaptation to the change. So this social factor is subdivided into different factors, and it is written into the form of statement. What is the effect of this increasing income level on company's operations, or what is the impact of high spending capability on the company's operation? Like that, we will prepare the statements under these trends. Then we'll, in the second column, we will find out the probability of occurrence. For example, in this case, you can see in the second column, increasing income level, it is having high probability of occurrence in the society, and therefore it is having high impact. So high impact means positive plus minus marks we'll have to give. It may be +1 or +2. So here for strategy 1, it is having a high impact, that is very high extreme positive effect. So we have given 2 marks. For strategy 2, it is having moderately positive impact. Therefore we have given 1 mark. And for strategy 3, it is having no effect. Therefore we have given 0 marks. So like second sub-factor we have taken high spending capability, and it is also having a very high impact on the company's operation, and the high impact is on the positive side, and therefore we have written 2 here. For strategy 1, it is having a very high positive impact. Therefore for S1 we have written 2. For S2, it is negative impact, whatever is the case. However, it is having negative effect on strategy 2, whatever strategies we have formulated. So this -1, +1, 2, 0, whatever marks we are giving, that is on the basis of the experience and judgment of those managers who are involved in the preparation of this ETOP model. And these marks they are giving, it is based on their experience, their knowledge, and their observation of the different trends in the market through different sources. So these marks are given, for example, for this S2, that is strategy 2, this sub factor high spending capability, it is having negative effect, moderately negative effect, that is -1 marks we have given. For strategy 3 also we have given -1 marks. Likewise for attitude of work and adaptation to the change, these also having average and low type of occurrence, and likewise we have given the marks here. And once these marks are given for this entire factor, that is social factor, we'll have to calculate the total. So this social factor which we have divided into the different sub factors. So for the social factors, we have calculated the total marks. It is probability of occurrence is total is 2 on the basis of judgment. It is having very high probability of occurrence, highly positive, high positive effect. So how it is calculated? We have made the the total of this marks for S1. We have calculated this 2 plus 2 4 and minus 3. It comes to 1. Here 1 minus 1 0 0, that is the total is 0. And for strategy 3 we have calculated 0 minus 1 2 and 0, that comes to plus 1. So if you make the total of this 1 plus 1, you get the score 2. Getting it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So as a conclusion, we can say this social factor is having high impact, and that is also a positive impact on the company's operations. So likewise, this ETOP is prepared for this particular example which we have taken with social factor as an example, which we have seen social factor which is divided into different sub factors. The probability of occurrence is being observed, and then the impact on strategies is written in the form of the numbers, how much impact it will carry on this different strategies, and then the total is being calculated, and the total is being assigned or can be called as a effect of that particular factor on that particular organization. Getting it?
Yes, sir.
So going further, we'll again see another example which is there for an automobile industry. So by taking this example, you can see this environmental factors, these environmental factors which they have calculated. So going further, so once we have calculated this marks, now these marks are need to be converted into different statements which can help manager to take decisions. So likewise, in the next slide, you can see this example of ETOP for automobile industry. And in this in this step, what we have to do is you have to translate all those marks which we have given or whatever score has been achieved for each factor, that you have to write in the form of statement of opportunity or threat, whether it is opportunity or it is a threat, that we will have to mention. So here you can see this chart, environmental factors we have mentioned, that is macroeconomic factors. Different factors are mentioned here, like per capita income is there, then loans availability, interest rates, all these are macroeconomic factors. And based on the scores which they have achieved, if it is having positive score, that may be +1 or +2, we can call it as an opportunity. If it is having a favorable impact on the organization, we can call it as a opportunity, and therefore we can write it in the form of statement like this. For per capita income, we have written it is an opportunity because it is having favorable effect or favorable impact, which we have calculated by using the scores. If it is score is +1 +2, it can be called as an opportunity. And the statement here you can see rise in PCI means per capita income that means more affordability. So we have to convert it into a statement for the decision of a manager, that is rising PCI, per capita income. What that is implying to the manager is more affordability. People will afford to purchase that particular vehicle, and that is an opportunity for us to sell more cars. Getting it?
Yes, sir.
Then you see second factor, environmental factor, loans availability. Loans are available in abundance. So we have calculated, as we have calculated in the earlier slide, we have calculated the scores, and we found that the score is +1 or +2. So it is carrying a positive impact on the company's operations. So we can say that banks are ready for giving loans. We have formulated it as a statement which is helpful for the decision of managers. That is, banks are ready for giving loans. So loans availability is an opportunity, and how it is helpful or how it is beneficial for the company is banks are ready for giving loans. That is an opportunity that we can sell more cars. Third environmental factors we can take is interest rates. So interest rates are also in favor of the company. So that is an opportunity. If it is having +1 or +2 score, by calculation, as we did in the earlier slide, the interest rates are in favor of the company, +1 or +2 score. So we can call it as an opportunity, and then it can give a positive effect or positive returns, or we can say it is having positive impact on the company's operations, that people can't pay easily installments. It should be actually, if it is an opportunity, people can pay easy installments. So it is an opportunity for the company that people can pay easy installments, and therefore there is an opportunity to sell more cars. So likewise, for each environmental factor, may it be social factor, the demographic factors, all those political factors, economical factors, we can take that factor, we can subdivide it into different factors. We shall take the information from different sources, and on the basis of the manager's judgment, experience, and the information which is available, on the basis of that information, that scores can be calculated, and that can be converted into statements which can talk about the opportunity or threat for the company's operations. Are you getting this? Any queries so far? Then the industry environmental analysis. So what we talked about till now was about the environmental analysis for that particular company. However, now we'll have to see the industry environment analysis. Industry means what? Industry is a group of companies, maybe manufacturing the similar products which can be substituted with each other, and all companies are targeting to the same set of customers. So after analyzing the environment or the environmental analysis for a single company, now we'll have to look at the industry environmental analysis. Industry means the group of similar companies who are producing or manufacturing similar kind of products and targeting to the same set of customers. So this industry analysis, if we are doing on continuous basis, it can help a company or the organization in this sense, that a new company to make strategic decision whether to enter or invest in a particular industry or not. So if we do environmental analysis for a particular industry, then it can help a new company to decide whether to enter into that particular industry or not. For example, if we are doing an industry analysis for an automobile industry, then on the basis of that environmental analysis for that particular automobile industry, you can make a decision whether you can enter into that particular industry or not, whether it will be helpful or it will be beneficial to enter into that industry or not. Then secondly, a old company already present in the industry to make a strategic decision whether to remain in the industry or to exit from the industry. So is the industry favorable to remain in that particular industry, or we can switch or switch our operations into any other industry? So to take this decision, this industry environmental analysis can help a decision maker to make this decision regarding whether to stay in that particular industry or to change our operations to enter into any other industry which is more favorable. So for industry profile, so for industry environmental analysis, we can study one of the model which is being put forth by this philosopher, one of the philosopher and scientist, uh, Porter's. So what Porter is saying is he has given 5 forces. So according to Porter, what he has analyzed, he has given 5 forces that are very important to be studied when we are talking about industry. And these 5 forces he has framed into one model which is popularly known as Porter's 5 force model. That model will have to understand what is this model and how it helps to analyze the industry. So this Porter's 5 model is suggested by Michael E. Porter of Harvard Business School in 1979. This is a framework to analyze level of competition within an industry and business strategy development. This model, which has been put forth by Michael E. Porter, that is very important for understanding the level of competition within an industry, what type of competition is prevailing in that particular industry, and then to formulate strategy. This model can be of use for a company. Attractiveness in this context refers to the overall industry growth and profitability with less risk. So we may call a particular industry as an attractive industry. So when we are talking that it is an attractive industry for business. So this attractiveness, what this means is attractiveness of an industry can be called when it is high growth industry and with high profits and less risk. So if it is there, we can say that it is very attractive industry for business. Then opposite to that can be an unattractive industry is one in which the combination of these 5 forces acts to drive down overall profitability and produces high risk. So by analyzing these 5 forces, if we understand that this particular industry there is the profitability is less, risk is very high, so we can call that particular industry as an unattractive industry for doing a business. Getting this? Any query
sir.
so far? Any query so far? Vishant, Yogesh,
No, sir, I understood.
fine. We shall go ahead. So this 5 force model, again to understand in clarity, this 5 force model of Porter is an outside in business unit strategy. Outside in means we are understanding the external environment of particular business and studying its impact on a company. So it is an outside in business unit strategy tool that is being used to make an analysis of attractiveness of an industry structure. So for analyzing a particular industry, we make use of this model to find out whether that industry is attractive or not attractive for doing business in that particular industry. This captures the key elements of industry competition. These 5 forces that determine the industry intensity of competition and therefore attractiveness of market. So these 5 forces will try to find it out what is the intensity of competition, how is the type of competition, how it is impacting on the operations of a particular company, and whether it is attractive or unattractive for doing business into that particular industry. That can be studied through this Porter's 5 force model. These 5 forces which Porter has stated, these 5 forces can be 3 forces from horizontal competition. That competition, Porter says that it is of 2 types, horizontal and vertical. So this horizontal competition will have 3 types of forces which Porter has studied, and then there are 2 forces which are from vertical competition. So this horizontal competition will have 3 forces like threat of substitute products, then secondly the threat of established rivals, those who are already established competitors in the market, and third important force is threat of new entrants, those companies who want to enter into that particular business. So these 3 forces from horizontal competition, that is threat of substitute products, the threat of established rivals, and threat of new entrants. Horizontal, why he wants to say horizontal is because that competition which we want to study from similar companies or those companies or those entities which are on the same level. That is why we are using this word horizontal, and therefore these 3 factors which are there from horizontal competition, and then there are 2 forces from the vertical competition. So vertical competition, there can be 2 types of the factors that can be studied is the bargaining power of suppliers, and secondly is the bargaining power of customers. The suppliers and customers, they both have bargaining powers. Bargaining powers means negotiation power in terms of the deals which for example maybe suppliers may be providing all those raw materials, so he may want to get highest price, and when it comes to bargaining power of customers, they may be desiring best quality product at a very economical cost. So these 2 forces which are comprising the vertical competition, maybe the bargaining power of suppliers and the bargaining power of customers. Getting it? So further, this 5 forces model which we are studying, it is one part of the complete Porter strategic model. So whatever Porter has suggested different strategic models, this 5 force model is only one part. There may be other elements like the value chain and generic strategies that we may be discussing in the subsequent units. However, here we'll be focusing more on this 5 force model, how this 5 force model it describes the different 5 forces of competition and how it helps us to understand the attractiveness of a particular industry. These 5 forces represented diagrammatically in this given diagram. Are you able to see this diagram?
Yes, sir.
So you can see there are 5 forces which are given in this diagram. On the horizontal plane, he has suggested 3 different forces like threat of new entrants, threat from the competition or the existing rivals, and threat of substitutes. So these are 3 horizontal competition forces, and there are 2 forces from the vertical competition. There is a customer's bargaining power and there is a supplier's bargaining power. So this makes your Porter's 5 forces model, that is 3 forces on horizontal and 2 forces from vertical competition. Now we'll have to discuss all these 5 forces in detail. What are these 5 forces? How it helps a company to understand the industry attractiveness. So this Porter's 5 force model allows company to understand current competitive environment of the industry. So for a particular industry, we are able to understand what are the competitive forces and what are the different opportunities and threats that are there in that particular environment. Then companies can better understand its strengths, weaknesses, which company tries to match with the competitive environment so as to create a secured position in the industry. For understanding whether it is attractive or not, so whether to stay in that business or not, or how do we strengthen our position. For all that purpose, we can identify all those strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats, and formulate appropriate strategies to match and cope up with all those aspects of opportunity and threats. Then this analysis helps a company to formulate competitive strategies to create profitability and improve its market share, obviously. For an example, a company can have increasing threats of new competitor as well of upcoming technological advancement along with existing competitors. So by doing this industry analysis, a company can identify there may be threats of new competitors. There may be new competitors which may be increasing, and then there may be technological changes, technological advancements in the environment, which can also be a threat, or that can also be an opportunity. Along with there may be another threat of having existing competitors. There may be established competitors in the market that can also be be a threat for a particular company. So we'll start discussing all these 5 forces now in details. So first factor or first force which is being described by Porter in his 5 force model is a threat of new entrants. So there may be new companies who are trying to get into that particular industry. You may take an example of automobile industry. If any new company wants to enter into that particular industry, that may be a threat to the existing companies. So a growing industry, if there is any attractive industry wherein there is a high growth, high profit potential, then there are many companies who also try to enter into that particular industry and wants to establish their business. So therefore, an growing industry having a profitable trends attracts many new competitors to enter into that industry. depending upon the attractiveness of that particular industry, new companies are ready to invest in that industry. So if the industry is attractive, there are many new companies, they can invest into that particular industry and wants to set their business. All those new companies tries to influence the customers of available competitors so as to earn a respectable market share. The customer base is same. However, the new entrants will also try to target the same customer base which the already existing companies are targeting. So there will be threat to the existing companies by the new entrants, because the new entrants also will be trying to get the market share from the by targeting the same customer base. Going ahead, these new entrants try to differentiate over the existing company's products. So whatever new entrants entering into a particular industry, they will enter into the industry by differentiating their products. They will differentiate, or they will try to establish how they are different or superior than that existing company's products by different ways. The ways may be adding new production capacity. They will add some new production capacity which can produce highest uh, number of goods or units in lesser time, bringing in substantial resources in research and development. They will invest more in research and development to produce innovative products with new features which the existing companies does not have. Then technological advancement or competitors, they will try to bring in some technologically advanced products which the existing competitors does not have. So like that, these companies, new entrants, while entering, they may be entering into the industry by differentiating their product by different ways. The extent of threat by the new entrant to the available competitors or existing companies can be reduced. So in a particular industry, the existing companies can restrict the entry of newcomers or new entrants into that particular industry by having different barriers or different restrictions for entry into that particular industry. That barriers or that restrictions can be of two types that we'll have to understand in detail. Then those two barriers or those two restrictions may be either entry barrier, or secondly can be retaliation by the available competitors. So these two kind of barriers, entry barrier and retaliation by the available competitors, that also we need to discuss in all the details. So instead of going ahead, what we'll do is we'll stop our today's discussion here. But then before we stop our discussion, let me ask you people whether you have any query on whatever we have discussed today. Do you have any query on whatever we have discussed?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Fine then. So what we'll do is we'll stop our today's discussion here. However, I will suggest all of you to go through whatever we have discussed till now, because as we are going ahead, whatever basic things we have discussed earlier, that you should not forget, and therefore you just go through once whatever we have discussed till now. Fine. With that,
Yes, sir.
we'll stop our today's session here, and we'll meet in the next session. Fine.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, sir.